Hello! Welcome to the second video. This one might be kind of rough because I did a lot of art and experimenting and I didn't record it all and I got ahead of myself, so I'm going to try to summarize some ideas quickly. The purpose of this video is to provide some background information for the next video. And then the videos after this will be more about the actual art process. So then, log entry number 2. Because of the nature of my past projects, much of my work involved computers. I would ink things by hand and color them on the computer. Many things were done completely on the computer, and a lot of this was to save time with the quick turnarounds in editing. And I am familiar and could do full illustrations with acrylic paint, but it never really fit any gigs I was doing. And so because of the nature of the projects, much of my work was done digitally or involved the computer. So mixed media is a new territory for me. I have done a fair amount of gouache paintings at this point, but right now I am not confident enough in my skills with gouache or mixed media to be able to offer it as an illustration service. Anyways, as I had stated in the last log, there's a few reasons I want to go into mixed media, and I'll state them again. One is to save the energy of the pencil line, become more familiar with more coloring mediums, and get away from technology. Allow me to explain. Even though my comic was made completely on the iPad, I do not like computers, and it was all done at the cost of a big headache for me. This is a personal thing, partly due to my own incompetence, but also I would rather have the art in front of me in the same world as me, so I could just see what it is with no hidden layers, no misunderstood sizing, no format disagreements, no hidden marks or surprises. It just is what it is. The other reason for mixed media is I want to preserve my pencil lines and the energy of the sketch. If you have done any kind of illustrating, then you will know it is not uncommon to lose some of the energy of the sketch in the finished product. And this is something I struggle with, and so I would like to find ways that I could preserve the whimsy of a sketch in the final product. And I think for me the answer might lie in mixed media. In the past few years too, I have been reacquainting myself with old picture books like Madeline. The illustrations are so crazy looking, but it also looks done, and it has so much energy in it. So I think becoming more familiar with different color mediums will help me find what I'm looking for in regards to saving the pencil line, and I think it will also open different doors for me. So I want to incorporate methods that help keep the energy of the sketch, and I want to work with looseness, scribbles, and texture. And so, now it is time to experiment and overthink. It seems that I am torn between different styles and executions. This is fine. One can have more than one style. But what is not fine is when everything is interesting and you want to do all of the projects right now. That is uncomfortable. So I will look at some methods one at a time, putting some aside, knowing I will come back to them later. I like the texture and mood of graphite drawings, like those in Jumanji and Polar Express. And then also the artwork from My Father's Dragon by Ruth. I don't know if those are graphite or not, but they have a similar vibe and motivation to me. My Father's Dragon has stuck with me since the first grade, and it's interesting to see it still make an impact. It also helped direct me when I was feeling lost with my comic. Thinking about these styles and the mood that they project led me to the style that I would use for the enemy cover, a graphite drawing that I colored on the computer. And so to further test some graphite drawings, I made these. But I chickened out and colored them on the computer. I also did a series of elephants on mixed media paper. And then being a little braver, I used Dr. Martin's ink over one, watercolor over one, and gouache over another. And honestly, at this point, they all come out well and a little different from each other, and it's really hard to choose what I think is better. Maybe too soon to tell. Another experiment I did was on Yupo paper. I did a gradient drawing with graphite and colored it on the computer. The paper was very interesting. It really likes to hang on to any mark you lay down, but at the same time it's really easy to get a smooth gradient on it. I do like these drawings and the style, but these illustrations lean into shape more than the energy of the pencil line. So I put these ideas aside for later, but I do have a project in mind for this particular style. So as I stated earlier, I'm going to go through these illustrations and tests a little quickly, and then in the next videos I'll show more of the process of how I do things. And if anyone does have any questions on a particular method, feel free to comment below. A new tool to me is Dr. Martin's Bombay India ink. And this is a very fun tool. Once you lay the ink down, it does not reactivate. Not like watercolor would. But you can build up layers to get different transparencies. That is how this purple dragon was made. One thing I do not like about it is that when I mixed my color in a little palette, it would dry incredibly fast. And like I said, it's not reactivatable. Ink and watercolor is how I did this bagpiper. It's not bad, and I did get some good lines out of it. But I'm feeling that the ink is a very strong, solid line, and maybe I want something that's a little more softer. So I'm thinking maybe like pencils. I like this green dragon a lot. It was done with black pencil, colored with gouache, and there are touches of ink in it in a few select places just to make it pop. And then once I have done a fair bit of experimenting, I did this kitchen witch. I used colored pencil as a base layer, then slowly built up the gouache over the pencil, and then colored pencil again on top of the gouache. This one I am very happy with, but I have to admit that in the past my art processes have been pretty straightforward. Inking and coloring on the computer, or paint and that's it. These layers of mixed media have been making me a little nervous. There are so many options and everything interacts with everything else a little bit different. There can be an infinite amount of things to consider while doing this. And it can go in many directions. So it's a little overwhelming. But that's okay. Experimenting, practice, and failure will be a part of this process. One of my concerns for this though is that I want to be able to repeat the same effect over and over, as this would be desirable for picture books. And if I do want to present myself as a possible illustrator for other people's projects, I want to be confident in creating a consistent quality of illustration. So, more experimenting. A neat tool I found was Durant Inktense paints. They work like Bombay ink in that once on the paper they are not reactivatable. All you need is water to activate the palette, as if it were watercolor, but because of that it becomes highly accessible. I thought the colors were pretty good too. I'm very happy with this paint set. So far I don't know if I'll use it for a project yet, but definitely for having fun with. This dragon was done with Inktense and colored pencil on watercolor paper. This knight was done with a simple pencil drawing, gouache over that, and then more pencil on top of the gouache. So there is a quick rundown of some experiments. And now that I know a little something about something, I'm excited to put my new materials and eagerness to the test and make a book. I have a few books plotted out and different styles in mind for them, but first I'm curious to do a style that experiments with the energy of the line. I have picked out a folktale and have begun to plot it out. And so the next log will be a start of the book making process. So I hope this video was not too chaotic. And in the future I'll be a little more specific about materials and how-tos. I guess if there is a takeaway from this video, it is that I did a fair amount of experimenting and goofing around in practice before I picked a direction and went with it. On my website, at the blog, there will be a breakdown of each image and the materials used for it. So if you're interested in that, you can find that information over there. I'll put the link in the description. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!